What's going on, guys? It is Jackson. I am just about to hit my workout, and I just wanted to hop on here and just kind of go over my story is the base foundation. A lot of you guys don't know who I truly am and where I've came from, and this video I'm going to chop it all down from the last 5 years, let's say. So I graduated high school in 2022, so that was actually 3 years ago. And I graduated actually 5 months earlier than everybody else, was going to college football, playing down here in Utah at Snow College, and had a great first semester, learned a ton. I actually did really good, and I learned a lot about myself during this period of time because there's a lot of kids that were older than me, better than me. I was the weakest kid, couldn't lift any weight. Like, even to this day, a lot of people probably still lift a lot more than me. That's not really what I preach, but during that time, I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be, more jacked. And, I learned a lot about myself even being on the football field. I was not the fastest. I didn't make a ton of crazy plays, but there was this one thing that I was really good at because I used to train a lot during high school with, NFL DBs, wide receivers, and I was doing all these drills, and I was actually the first one crossing the finish line every time. And if we ran the 40, 100-yard dash, I was literally almost the last one, probably the last one every single time. And this made me kind of understand, I had weaknesses, I had things I was actually good at. And, once I decided to actually stop going to school, stop playing ball, I saw just kind of the stress it put on my parents financially. And I honestly didn't want that. And during this time when I came back from school, I was learning a lot online, finding just what I truly wanted in my life. If that was, working a 9 to 5, if that was pursuing my health and fitness, which I'm doing today, if it was going back to school. And I came to a conclusion that I did not want to go back to school. I wanted to pursue my health, my fitness, learn more online, and honestly, just how to make more money online. And over time, from my decision of going back to college, I had a lot of negativity, positivity, but mostly negative about why I shouldn't, stay here, why I should go to school. And, I put a lot of people down with my decision, but at the end of the day, it's my life, it's my decision. And from there on, I started working construction with my father, coming straight out of college. I didn't have anything I really wanted to do. So I ended up doing that for 2 years, and I started to settle, which was unfortunate. I started to be comfortable. I started being okay with where I was at. I was getting a paycheck. I was driving the cool car. I was getting this money that would fulfill all my needs. And over time, I needed more money and more needs, and that started making me think, okay, how can I actually start making more money? And, I was looking at all these business models, e-com, trading, investing, which I had zero money to do. I actually bought a bunch of silver coins and then eventually ended up selling because I really needed the money for actually a car that I wanted to buy. And, I started becoming super lost within myself. And, I used to be an athlete. I always used to have this schedule, and, I started seeing some inspiring people online and started learning about health and, all these different things. And it kind of sparked an interest inside of me of, dude, taking care of myself was the foundation that I used to do. Now I'm 20 pounds overweight. I look like shit. My hair is super long. I don't take care of myself. Every single day I play video games, I work, I eat whatever, and that's all my life was. I wasn't doing a lot, guys. That's literally all I was doing. I was pouring all my money into this game. I was the best. I would destroy everyone, and I just have so much dopamine because I did so well. And over time, I just took a deep reflection on myself and was like, my health needed to change, but I also, needed to find a way, that I could start trying to make a different income source. But even at that time, it wasn't really about the income. It was more about just taking care of my health, getting in shape. And I can tell you, just that whole transition from going unhealthy to healthy is the hardest transition, I would say. And then once you start to gain momentum, it's just like a lifestyle. I've created this lifestyle where I do these certain things that it's like second nature. I just wake up, I go on a walk, I take care of my health, I'm fasting, I'm eating organic whole foods, I'm using my carbohydrates to fuel my workout. Everything's intentional, but everything I don't have to think about. I don't have to play this mind game of, gosh, I have to do this, I have to do this. I just do it. And that's the beauty of gaining momentum and creating habits that eventually equal a lifestyle. And that transition was harder, having no guidance, no coaches, no nothing, but I got through it. I became super educated, and eventually that momentum took off, and I started figuring that if I could get in shape and have all these aspects of health that I understood, I could help other people feel amazing, get great sleep, understand how to avoid all the toxic poisons things that are in this world, from the food, the water, the technology, the EMFs, the RFs around our whole body, the fragrance that's being pumped through, little incense that, ruin our hormones, and so many other aspects. But all of these things, guys, is something I became passionate about, something I wanted to teach people about, and that's why I came here online. And obviously I don't have the craziest physique, but something I do have is great habits, great energy, great sleep, my relationships, my family. You guys see it all online. Like, my life is honestly amazing. I'm very happy with where I am at. There's always ebbs and flows and how life goes, but overall I'm doing amazing, and I continue to progress and keep that to a high standard and change, not always doing the same things, but sometimes I'm trying to eat, get bigger. Sometimes I'm focused on flexibility, fasting, just had a baby recently, so I was taking some time off. I had an injury with my shoulder that is still a little present that, I'm being very cautious of, but life is always going to change your situations, and especially if you're a person who has a ton of stuff on their plate like me, you're not always going to be able to do the same things day in and day out. And for that reason, you have to be super flexible. You have to be learned to, stay active and take care of your health even when, you don't have time. And it's very possible when you understand these key aspects, but, for me, it just took a lot of learning, studying, researching, but that's one thing I used to be, was a creature of this habit of learning something and then preaching it, but not actually applying it in my life. And I did that for a while, where I would just tell people do this, do that, but I didn't have those results. And the more I started learning, I started to understand that I actually needed to apply this. I actually needed to try this and experiment with this and see actually how my health does. And I've been lucky enough to make that transition and start implementing things in my life to raise the bar and try new things. And as of right now, I've kind of gone skinnier. I haven't been working out a ton. Like, it's almost been 5 months, and it's time to get back in the gym, put on some muscle, and be careful with the shoulder. That's something I've been learning about, the anatomy of the body as well. But life's a journey, guys, and that's just partially, some of my story that's been happening over the last 3 years. And, I could say, I graduated 3 years ago, and that already feels like time is just flying by. And that's something I want you to understand as we continue to, be more distracted through social media. Everyone carrying a phone in their pocket that's right by their genitalia area that might have some effect on the body over, long periods of time. But the point I'm trying to convey is that, time's flying by, and it's time to take action with our health, our mindset, our physique, our goals, our ambitions, our relationships. Everything in our life needs to improve. It's not just about getting jacked and then, oh, I gotta, have money. I gotta have a good relationship with people. Like, it's always gonna change, and that's why I focus on all these aspects, because life is meant to be spent with all of these different things, If you're just always in the gym, like, there's more than just the gym outside of life, and I don't even preach that, A lot of people just don't understand that health doesn't just originate from getting jacked. It's about what you input into your body matters. It's about the water. It's about understanding how light affects the body. Now that technology's been taking over with 3G, 4G, 5G, maybe now 6G, all of these towers are around us and they all affect your body. You might think, why do I have these health issues? It's probably because you have a router in the same room as you. You have Febreze fragrance pumping into the room. You're drinking tap water, you're eating seed oils, you're eating highly processed foods. Then you're finishing the night off after work in your bed, watching TV, and then you're waking up, eating snacks during the night, and you wonder what's the problem. My friend, it's a lot of work, but it's very possible. And if I can change, you can change as well. And all I can truly say is that if you really want it, you can do it. And the things you see about yourself, the things you think you're going to do and you're going to do that's your plan that God is like presenting itself. He's telling you to almost take action on these things, and he knows it's going to be hard. He knows it's going to suck. And that's something I've been realizing lately, is that I know what I truly want in this world. I just got to put the work in. Just like this video, like, I am so busy, I feel like I didn't have time to make this video, and we've been 12 minutes in, and this has actually been a lot easier than I thought. It was about just actually doing it. A lot of the times we get in our head, we think, oh, I gotta do this, or I don't know if I can do this, but we actually, once we do it, we kind of feel good, like, oh, damn, I actually did it. And that's the truth. So, start doing more, care more about yourself and what your situation is. And for that reason, start creating habits, then start taking action. That's going to create into a lifestyle. That's going to gain you momentum. Life changes are going to start happening. And the next thing you know it, your life is going to completely change. My story is just one example, that I wanted to share. And there's millions of other stories of how people's lives progress. And I can tell you, there's periods and times where your life always isn't going to progress. Sometimes it's going to plateau. Sometimes it might go down. And, one issue that I've seen with a lot of people in my life personally is a lot of people have, been doing good, but then they've gone down and then they stayed down. And that's a huge problem we have to address, because no one should be okay with settling, being okay with where they're at. Because when you do that, it's almost like you're giving up. You're on your knees. You're basically saying, I give up. And that's something hard to, taste in your mouth. And, I've had that taste in my mouth before. And as a man, as someone who now has a family, that is unacceptable behavior. And we all must keep ourselves to that higher standard. And when we see each other go down, or we need to have better habits, or we see one of our friends not doing the things that you were accountable for them, you need to keep that standard high and, speak up. But when it comes within yourself, when you're on that low bottom, you got to bring yourself back up, and it's very important. But that is just part of my story, guys. The story still continues, and I'm pumped to, get this workout in and keep getting better every single day. And hopefully the momentum keeps raising. I keep keeping it. Keep keeping it is a great way to say that. But, I'm just blessed to be on here, to be able to speak to you guys, because, my circle is very small, and I don't, talk to a lot of people, but online it's a, completely different game. I have a lot of people engaged, people's lives changing, a lot of people taking action on their health through me, because I decided to come on here and get out of my comfort zone. Someone who hated cameras, who never took a selfie. Like, guys, when I say I never took a selfie, in my entire life, I truly didn't. So getting on camera was terrifying. I felt embarrassed, and sometimes I still do feel embarrassed to post. But the thing about it is that it keeps me consistent, it keeps me disciplined, and I keep doing it for you guys. So thank you guys again for watching this video. More is to come. This content is only gonna get better. This is probably one of my first videos that I've made here on YouTube. So bear with me, it will get better. This is just the beginning. And I'm pumped to, hopefully meet you someday through a DM, through, my coaching that's been opening up here recently. And very blessed, and take care, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.